Hey, what's up, guys? Our passage today comes from John chapter 6, verses 16 through 21. As we look at this story, it's actually probably a pretty familiar story. It's a story where Jesus walks on water, and it's found in both Matthew, Mark, and in the Gospel of John. And so as we see this, again, just like yesterday, it's easy to get caught up in some of the details of the story and think that they are the point. And trust me, like I said yesterday, I've been guilty of that more times than I care to admit. But again, the point of this story is not the boat and what our security is. The point of this boat is not stepping out of the boat. The point of this story is not the storm. The point of this story, again, watch it, is Jesus. Jesus is the point. And so as John is painting this picture of Jesus as the Word made flesh, moved into the neighborhood, as he is painting this picture of who Jesus is, we see this story on the heels of the miracle where Jesus provided, and Jesus did something that only Jesus as the God-man could do. He again sees this miracle where he walks on water. He does something that only the God-man could make happen. It shows again his divinity, that he is not just some dude. He's not your BFF. He's not your homeboy. He's not your boyfriend. He is God. He is the God-man, and that he should be treated that way. He should be viewed that way. Because remember, look at the point of what John is trying to do. The whole point of the Gospel of John can be found in John chapter 20 and verse 31, where it says that John writes that I have written these things so that you may know that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that you may believe in his name and find life. And so again, John is writing all of this because he wants us to see that Jesus is who he says he is. And so that he is not just some guy. He's not a liar, a lunatic, but in fact he is the Lord, and that he is deserving to be followed in that way. And so as we see, Jesus shows up, and he shows up walking on water. These disciples, they've been rowing across the lake trying to figure out where Jesus is and trying to do all this. And he shows up in the middle of this storm, man. The winds are blowing, the waves are crashing. They've been rowing and going, and it's been difficult. And when Jesus shows up, he shows up and they are afraid. And Dr. David Pendergrass said something yesterday to me that really kind of just struck a chord with me. He said sometimes Jesus will show up in ways that cause us to have fear, and that's okay. Did you catch that? Sometimes, because he's God, he's not just another God. He is God. And he's going to show up and he's going to do things that may cause fear inside of us, but that's okay. Some of the most scary times in my life have been times where I made big decisions to make a career change, to make a step to go to this college, to be in this relationship, or to take it to the next level. Those have been scary moments, and yet God has been with me every step of the way. And so God shows up through Jesus. He shows up to the disciples. He gets in the boat, and the waves and the storm calm down, and they come down. And in this, we see through walking on the water and through calming the storm that Jesus has a divine power. That Jesus is the God-man. That he's not just another guy. You know, today in our lives, we have lots of storms. Today in our lives, there are lots of things that go on where the winds begin to blow and the waves begin to crash in, and we maybe, like the disciples, begin to be afraid. We start to see things. We think that maybe God has turned his back on us. He's forgotten about us, or that God's nowhere to be found, that we can't see him. We think that, man, has he just turned a blind eye? Has he fallen asleep? God, what about me? How long will you forget me forever? And yet, I want you to know that Jesus, as the God-man, has power over the storms of your life even today. That as the storms come out, he does not promise that he'll calm every storm. But watch this. He does promise us that we have no reason to be afraid. We have no reason to think that God has turned his back on us, because, as we talked about last week in John chapter 14, he promises to not leave us as orphans. Our memory verse this week is John chapter 6, verse 35. Take it, own it, memorize it, put it into practice, and let it challenge you. Let it propel you to go change the world. I love you guys. Have a great day.